This audio needs no introduction, so I'll just say this. I don't know how to go viral, how to get past censorship, how to play the algorithm. You are free to upload this and any of my items, any of my written or video items, anywhere that you want. You're free to create new accounts, whatever else. I would ask that you please attribute it correctly to me and that you link back to the two channels that I currently control, which are this YouTube channel, YDYDY, and the Substack page, ydydY.substack.com. Beyond that, go ahead and upload this anywhere you like. Please do, in fact. As for titles, I don't yet know what title I'm going to use for this. Maybe something like Top Secret New World Order Leaked. I don't know. I'll probably ask AI what they think. They'll probably give me something controversial but silly. You can use whatever title you like. The second thing is, the most accurate and correct way to do things is live. I hardly ever go live because we don't yet have knowledge that there's going to be an audience when I go live. The only way on YouTube that there's any chance whatsoever that you'll know if I go live is if, in addition to subscribing, you also hit notifications. All notifications. YouTube thinks I owe them money. I actually do owe them money. But even before that, they weren't very friendly to the channel. So YouTube does not show... We have over 23,000 subscribers. And yet YouTube only shows my videos to about 100 people each. That's it. I'm not saying how many people watch them. I'm saying how many people even see them anywhere. So you have to hit, if you want, I'm not saying you have to do anything, but if you're interested in being there when we go live, and I would like to go live pretty much exclusively going live, not pre-recorded stuff, pretty much exclusively, we'll need to have an audience. It doesn't make sense to go live and to have the little man figure show up over there on the screen that says 0, 1, 2, 0. And it's also, it doesn't make sense if nobody knows that I'm there just talking as if I'm speaking live to people that are not actually there. So those are the only two things. Share this and anything else you want, anywhere you want, under any title you want. And please make sure that your notifications are on. And God willing, inshallah, or if you don't like religious terminology, ignore those two, then we'll be able to be going live more often. Here is the complete program. The ideal is exactly what you said, for people to hear my ideas. And the way to get people to hear my ideas is to discuss these ideas with the people who can supposedly refute them best. In other words, if I have an idea that's good for the Palestinians and an idea that's good for the Israelis, and as it turns out in my case, an idea that's good for both of them, right? So if I'm speaking to Sinwar, supposedly he's the guy. If I'm saying, hey, I'm the person who can help the Palestinians the most, these ideas that I have can help the Palestinians most if they hear them. The best way to have them hear them is for them to have the best representative for the other point of view. The best representative for the point of view against my ideas on behalf of the Palestinians is Yahya Sinwar. The best idea for my point of view, what's good for Israelis, the best antagonist who could refute me is Netanyahu. So let's go with Netanyahu, which is more likely. I want the Israelis to watch it. I want the whole world, of course, to watch it, but Israelis will care most. And by discussing it with Netanyahu, again, I'm not trying to be a debater. I'm not trying to disagree with him. I don't have any gotcha questions, but ideally, somehow he can get over his 60 plus years or 70 plus years of being a politician, careerist guy or whatever, and come around to what I'm saying. More likely, he won't entirely do so, although he might be open to it or might just play politician the whole time. I don't know. But Israelis will see that I am arguing my ideas about what's good for them, how they can solve their problem, with the number one person who could refute me. That's what I'm doing. And if I happen to be wrong, hopefully I will have the humility during that podcast to recognize that I am wrong. Either way, whether I end up having, I think that I'll have that humility because I don't think I have any other. My only interest in this is in what's true and what's good. I think so. I think I would have such humility, but whether I do or don't, the Israelis will then have had a chance to hear my ideas, and if I'm wrong, well, they got it from Netanyahu. Who there you go. I don't know if I'm explaining myself exactly perfectly, but basically, your first message exactly got to it. I want the world to hear these ideas. And for them to believe it, I need to actually speak to those people who are the best in the world at refuting them. And if we're looking right now specifically at Zionism, the prophet Zechariah says that the actual redemption for the Jews getting the land of Israel in the future will not be with an army and will not be with strength, but will be with God's spirit, with discussion, with brotherhood, with a love of truth and peace. So that's and Yeshaya, Isaiah says that all the nations will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, and nation will not lift up sword against nation, and nor will there ever be any more military academies. Literally, in the Hebrew, v'lo yilmedu od milchama, they will no longer study the art of war. Nobody will think. In other words, we don't study the art of torturing your own big toe, right? There's no academies for that, because why would anybody even think to do something like that? He's saying the same thing will be for war, which now, of course, is the biggest industry on all of planet Earth. So, my ideas are pretty radical, but they're very firmly, Jewish in our Bible. And I think that they are common sense as well. My experience traveling the world has been that most people, I mean, yesterday I spoke with numerous Arabs who came with the point of view of originally hating Jews and Israelis, from all over the world, Arabs from different countries. On a boat, they could have thrown me over. One guy actually did, possibly before he got to know me, actually did try to pull me underwater a little bit, but no, I think that he might have been pretending to try to save me or something. No, he was. It doesn't matter. But no, but the point is, they all came around like they never thought of it that way. They literally never thought of it that way. The world always thinks in terms of teams. One group of people is bad, one group of people is good, and that's how the entire world, more or less, sees the Israel issue. My point of view with regards to the Israel issue is true Zionism, the whole Tanakh, the whole Torah Zionism. But we get the land in a way that people will want us to be there. In Zechariah it says that in those days there will be rivers of nations streaming towards Jerusalem to hear God's word and to receive God's justice in Jerusalem. But everyone will acknowledge that Jerusalem is the Jews. It says that in the future, 10 people will grab onto a cloak of a Jew going to Jerusalem, says, take us with you, take us with you. We also want to hear, we hear that God is with you and we want to know. That's the world that I'm trying to offer. And so I think that the publicity gained by trying to get these petitions, by trying to get these million subscribers, and then finally actually having this conversation, which, look, I'm just a human being. I mean, and I could, I think you were at the meeting in, I remember Mallory was on the board. I had put her on the board in Desert Synagogue, where I tried to take over, have a coup over there, because the millionaire guy from Scotland, and the other ones had said that they'll only do it if I take if the are not involved. If I am the chairman of the board, the rabbi and the chairman of the board, so I can overrule the literally. That was what told me. That was what they all told me. That was the only way that I got all the money together. I got all the $120,000 together in one day raised, if I could pull off that coup. And I failed because I actually like froze. I wasn't my breathing was off. Like if you watched Sarah Palin when she quit politics a whole bunch of years ago, and she was like, breathing weirdly, saying weird things. I was kind of like that. So I'm just a human, and I'm a very fallible human. You've seen me from up close. I don't have a normal sleeping schedule, etc., or whatever. So it's not a guarantee of anything. This is in God's hands ultimately, obviously. Whatever God is, I can clearly say it's not 100% in my hands. But that is the plan, and I think it is what God, whatever God is, wants me to do. So yes, it's that the people should hear and consider my ideas, and therefore we should hopefully not need to go to step 2 of mediating between these two people, because the point is that these two people should not be the ones making the rules. It's ridiculous that there's a few people. I mean, think about it. With just two of the major conflicts in the world, right? I mean, Russia and Pakistan have issues with each other that are pretty big, and they both have nukes. Just considering the two main ones that are in the American news, the Israel situation with Iran, and all the people Iran supporting, Hamas, Hezbollah, right, where they both have nukes, and where America's on Israel side and America has nukes, and possibly some Europeans would be on Israel side who have nukes as well. And the Russia-Ukraine thing, where America's involved on one side as well, and possibly some other Europeans with nukes involved also on that side with Ukraine. And Russia itself has tons of nukes, and Russia's allied with China, which also has nukes. Technically, there are a few people who could destroy all of our lives just like that. We're supposedly giving, Chairman Shu, or whatever the fuck his name is, or Putin, or Biden, or Harris, or Trump, or Vance, or whoever the fuck, a few guys, the ability to blow up all of us. How fucking insane is that? We should get a say. So the goal is that eventually we'll have some kind of direct democracy, which is a better sort, direct, whatever, that's a longer explanation of how things will work, but getting rid of the current system where a few people get to rule everybody else and make the decisions on behalf of all of us. And the way that we do that is by having millions of people all at once paying attention to an entirely different point of view. One that says that it's not that one side is wrong and one side is right. Both sides are wrong and both sides are right, because all of us as humans can be right or wrong. And if we were leaders, we would be the same as those leaders. It's trying to get more or less rid of, I mean, obviously we're not trying to create communism, we're not trying to create anarchy, but getting rid of the system that we have today of a few leaders in charge who could really blow up the whole world. And the way that we do this is giving power to the people. Because the one thing that these leaders are, believe it or not, is cowards. They're cowards to public opinion. There are a few exceptions to this in history, very few. Gandhi was not a coward to public opinion, and Hitler was not a coward to public opinion. Netanyahu is definitely a coward to public opinion, and Sinwar, I assume, I don't know much about the guy, but I would assume that he is as well. If the people turn against Sinwar, what's he going to do? Right, they could kill him. He needs them to like him in order to survive right now at this very moment. And I have never come across any politician in my lifetime in America who is not a coward to public opinion, or what they perceive to be, or what they can claim. In other words, not real public opinion. Like real public opinion is close the borders and always has been. Even Jews and Hispanics want close the borders. But the leaders have the media on their side, right? So they can pretend that it's a big debate or whatever. But you can't pretend when there are millions of people watching live on the internet. No matter how much they try to censor it afterwards and whatever else, it can pop up here, there, everywhere. It can, until it ends up taking over, and until the leaders come around to, oh well, we still want to be leaders or whatever. So hey, we agree with you. So the point is for all the people to hear these ideas, and to give them the opportunity to hear from the very best advocate against those ideas from their team. For the Israelis, it's Netanyahu. For the Palestinians, it's Sinwar. And if this works, if we can really do this, I mean, this is messianic level stuff. I don't care for such words because they're mystical and people believe them in all different kinds of ways and whatever, I'm saying it's up to God to decide. It's up to whether I'm Mashiach or not, and He's not going to tell me either way. It's I don't care. These things are not real. These words that people use, they're all used incorrectly, so it doesn't matter. But if we can solve the Israel thing, we'll solve everything. I mean, the point is like, let's say me and you. Let's say you're hungry and you're out on the street and you have no food, and the reason is because you and I made a business deal 10 years ago, blah 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 blah, and now I have all your stuff. You sold me all your stuff, and right. So technically, according to the laws and according to most people's morality, well, I'm allowed to have 15 houses and whatever else, and it's fine, and I'm right. And if you try to take anything from me, that's theft. That's nonsense. In a world of brotherhood, in a world where we're all one family, where we recognize like the creatures on earth that we can relate to best are other humans. That's why God made Eve, but whatever. But there's no, when I meet strangers, when anybody meets strangers, it's easy to get along with anybody for at least a few minutes if you don't have to like live in close quarters or whatever. And nowadays we don't have to live in close quarters. In other words, all the usual problems that would have existed in the past for humans to get along don't really exist today. We don't have those problems. We just still have a remnant of belief that we're against each other. But there's no reason for us to be against each other. There's no reason for us to be against each other. Jonas Salk, the Jewish guy who discovered the vaccine for polio, so he was asked on TV, you can actually find the clip on YouTube. He was asked, are you going to patent it? Right? I mean, at that time, this would have made him the richest person in the world. Yeah, most likely the richest person in the world, patenting the vaccine for Salk, for polio. And he said, "What do you mean patent it? It's a fact in the world that this is how you can create a vaccine for polio, and I'm very honored to have discovered it." But he said, I mean, like, can you patent the sun? That's literally what he said. He's like, can you patent the sun? What does that mean? What am I trying to take away? Like, I discovered it, great. But now I'm going to take away this knowledge and say, mine, 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 mine. And that's it. Right? And he's still famous to this day, even though his actual vaccine was surpassed by a better kind of vaccine a few months later. Nowadays, no one uses his kind anymore. But he's world famous. He would have been famous if he would have taken the patent and become a billionaire too. But he's still famous, and I'm sure he seemed pretty happy with himself in the interview. He seemed to be very happy that he achieved this, that he succeeded at this. If you or I can contribute to the happiness of mankind, and people know about it, like they do with Salk, whatever, there's nothing wrong with honor. Do we really need the money? Who doesn't want to contribute? Who doesn't want to contribute to help other people? It's just a natural, normal human tendency. We've made it into this competition sort of thing. It doesn't have to be that at all. There's enough for everyone. Anyway, but the point is, if we can prove this with regards to Israel, then this becomes it's a proof of concept for all of us in the whole world, for all the nations of the earth, and for all the individuals of the earth. It's a proof of concept. Obviously, I don't have all the answers. That's the whole point. I need everyone else to join. I mean, how could I have all the answers? There are billions and billions of people in the world. One thing, for example, is that it's possible that there are, Jesus said, if someone slaps you, turn the other cheek and let him slap your other cheek, right? And he got himself crucified. Gandhi, would always ride third-class rail. He always mixed with everybody, even though he knew there were millions and millions of people who hated his ideas. He mixed everywhere. He didn't have security, whatever. I'm saying the Indian government ended up providing him security against his wishes, but he mixed everywhere, and somebody came and killed him. I'm not confident that every single person in the world can be reached. Maybe not. The prevailing perspective that there are lots of evil people out there, I disagree with. But it's possible there are a few. It's possible that there are a few people that are just, that's it, there's nothing you can do. And those people we have to, either jail or kill or fight back or, or take away certain rights. It's possible. I don't know. But when there's more and more and more people involved who understand this vision and are living by it, then we'll find all the answers. I have basic ideas, like, how much capitalism? Well, first we make sure everyone has everything they need to survive. And then beyond that, I think, go ahead and do whatever capitalism you want. In other words, everyone, just like during COVID, everyone's provided basics. And then beyond that, if you want to have a bigger house, fine. So, you're allowed to enslave yourself to another person to wash his shoes, and then you'll have a bigger house. That's my basic assumption. But for all I know, that's not workable in a grand economic scheme, whatever. I didn't. But the information is out there. Instead of everyone hoarding their own information, I have the secret, and I'm going to get the Nobel Prize, and I'm the one who's going to get money, and I'm the one who's going to, save my country's economy and be stronger than some other country's economy. We're going to compete against other countries, whatever. So long as that's happening, the majority of human genius is hidden away and fighting each other, often using dirty tricks. It's often not even a meritocracy, as you can see with all the censorship on the internet. It's not even like, economist A says one and economist B says two. They use dirty tricks against each other. But I don't have to have all the answers. All I have to have is for enough people to consider this vision to see if we can make it happen. This period takes place during the Jubilee year, during the Yovel, October 12th. I hope that I will get a shofar and I will blow a shofar. It will be nice if a lot of people ended up hearing it or watching it, but at least I hope for myself to be free for that year, that Jubilee year, the very last Jubilee year, according to ancient secret prophecies in Jewish tradition. And during that year, when, as many people as possible are not working, but instead they're mingling, not through phones, but in real life, and they're going to Jerusalem 3 times a year to meet each other, and it's going to be like, people from all over the world discussing and in the state of brotherhood. We'll figure out what kind of world we're going to have, and we'll remake our world on our own. We don't need political leaders or business leaders to decide. They'll follow the rest of us like they always do. And before that, what we need, Elul, the month of Elul, tonight is Tisha B'Av. Tonight is the 9th day of the month of Av, commemorating the destruction of the temples. And then in 3 weeks is the month of Elul. Elul is a truth and reconciliation month in the Jewish tradition. It's that like sometimes people ask other people for forgiveness for things before Rosh Hashanah or before Yom Kippur, right? Elul is the 1 month before Rosh Hashanah, and then there's 10 days to Yom Kippur, right? So we have 3 weeks now from tonight, Tisha B'Av, 3 weeks until the beginning of Elul. Then we have 1 month of Elul, then is Rosh Hashanah, then 10 days later is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is when the Jubilee shofar is blown, and then everyone's free for the year. Anyways, so truth and reconciliation means, if it's done right, it means everybody making first, ideally first privately, of course, getting together with people who think that you've wronged them. Maybe whether you actually have or haven't, whatever, having conversations with them. Obviously this is a difficult thing to do in our day because everyone's afraid that everyone else is taping them against their interests. It's complicated, but nonetheless, that's how things have worked in the Jewish tradition. During this month of Elul, you try to make yourself right, not just with God, but with everybody else in your world. Everyone else that so that you go into Rosh Hashanah clean, and then on Yom Kippur, 10 days later, but then you're clean with God. But you take a month first to get yourself clean with all other humans, with all other people. If someone thinks you've wronged them, you try to have a private conversation with them, and understand each other. And the belief is that aside for these few exceptions which may exist, the Torah seems to indicate that the death penalty does exist, so there might be such exceptions of people who can't be helped. It's possible. But there's ways that you do this, that you try to, actually, the assumption is that you're both going to want to be friends. That neither of you wants to have a heavy heart of someone thinking that someone else hurt someone else, And then we all go public, not with anything that's private about anybody, of course, but everyone goes public on the internet with everything. In America today, there are around 50,000 murderers who never sat in jail. Never mind murderers who have sat in jail. There's around 50,000. That's a conservative estimate because tons and tons and tons of murders don't go reported, especially in poor neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, especially when it comes to the elderly, when it comes to small children. Lots and lots and lots of murders are never counted as homicides in the first place. But there are around 50,000 people never caught or possibly caught and just, released immediately or whatever, who never sat in jail. There's probably over 50,000 people in America literally who no one knows they killed somebody. They're murderers, no one knows it. So no matter what somebody thinks that they're, oh my God, if everyone finds out my crime that I did this or my sin, crime or not crime, my bad, for example, women, history hasn't really worried about crimes for women because women have, for the most part, not been allowed the legal system. So history didn't really deal with it. So women have a whole bunch of certain particular kinds of potential bad behaviors and bad intentions that are not criminal at all, but which they know among each other, and they also know with us that they are morally reprehensible. They might not be crimes, but they are, because we haven't had time to put them into the books, but they're morally reprehensible. So it's not a matter of just of crime that you can actually be punished for, but also like just coming out openly to the world. In other words, the point is we're going to make the justice system obsolete. If we're open to each other as people, we're not going to need to have prosecutors and judges and defense attorneys and prisons and stuff like that. We're all open with each other. And whatever the fuck it is that you could have possibly done, you're probably not one of those 50,000 people who, and even if you are, there's more than 50,000 people, again, who were never caught. Never mind all the people who were caught. We're talking hundreds of thousands of murderers that are alive. At least 100,000 murderers in America are alive today. Does that make sense? 100,000? Let's stick with 50,000 because that number is right. I did check it over plenty of times. Anyway, but that's the point. The point is we're all human. We're all very similar. And so the goal is, once we solve this Israel thing, if we can solve it, in this month of destruction, which the prophet Zechariah says that all you have to do is love the way that he uses God, the way that he terms God is ha'emes v'hashalom, the truth and the good, the truth and the peace, the truth and the completion. We can't really translate emes and shalom perfectly into English, but basically the truth and the peace, but it's not exactly correct. Then it'll be a holiday, Tisha B'Av. You're not, So anyway, so that's that. We hope if we can get this done before Elul, we can show the world proof of concept, and then in Elul, we that's what we do, and then we're all free. Life starts again. That's it. It's a rebirth. It's a true rebirth. Come Yom Kippur, in 2 months, it's a rebirth for each individual and for the whole world. Everything starts fresh.